Booted off, my flight for no reason. So I redirected a $1.2 billion AI deal to their rival. They told me to step off the plane before they even said hello. Malik Johnson's voice is calm, but you can taste the shock in the air as he presses record on his phone. It's April 2025. Miami International, one of the busiest gateways connecting the sun-soaked streets of Florida to the hustle of Chicago. Malik, 35, CEO of Green Chain AI, slips into 2A of Cal Ocean Air Flight 742, a first-class cabin buzzing with business travelers. He's wearing a tailored charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, and his mother's old leather wallet sits heavily in his pocket. A talisman from Stockton, California, reminding him where he came from. The cabin lights dim, a hush falls over the rows, and Malik pulls out his tablet, checking slides one last time for tomorrow's pitch, a $1.2 billion contract to optimize electric vehicle logistics across the Midwest. This deal could shift the future of sustainable transport. He's been here before countless boardrooms, late nights, and near misses. But today feels different. The world is watching Black Lives Matter protests flare up in every major city, and AI ethics hearings are trending on every tech feed. There's an electric tension between progress and prejudice, and Malik can feel it under his skin. Just as he settles in, the cabin door clicks behind a blonde woman in a white sweater, Linda Carter, Cal Ocean's head of security, and a guard with a handheld biometric scanner. They glance at each other. Linda's lips curve into a polite smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Sir, may we see your ID and boarding pass again?" she asks, voice so quiet, only the two of them hear. Malik's pulse flickers. He retrieved both from his inner jacket pocket at the gate. All systems should go. He hands them over. Linda's scanner emits a quiet beep, then a pause long enough to feel like judgment. Malik leans forward, steady. Everything was verified at the gate. "Is there a problem?" The guard doesn't answer. Instead, he motions toward the aisle. The hum of conversation hushes. Rosa Martinez, a local reporter boarding in 2C, tilts her head, phone camera half hidden on her lap. Marcus Lee, one of Malik's own engineers, peers over his laptop from 3A. No one moves. In that moment, Malik senses the mechanical gaze of the airport's facial recognition AI lens flickering overhead, erroneously flagging him as a security risk. A shiver runs through him. He knows that system's dark secret. It's trained on distorted data that misidentifies faces of color. He swallows. This isn't about paperwork anymore. It's about identity and belonging in a world increasingly governed by algorithms that inherit bias. He stands hands in clear sight and gathers his bag. His mother's wallet bumps against his thigh, a reminder he's not just fighting for a contract, but for every engineer back home who looks like him, for every passenger who deserves a seat without suspicion. Around him, 30 strangers exchange glances, but the only sound is the muted click of seatbelts undoing. Malik straightens his jacket, lifts his chin, and meets Linda's gaze. "Do you know who I am?" he asks, voice low but firm. She shakes her head. He breathes in. Then he steps into the aisle, leaving behind his paper dove, an origami symbol of peace he folded from today's boarding pass, nestled in the armrest. The cabin door closes and the engine's roar swells. The tension crackles like electricity across the cabin. Is this the end of his journey or the beginning of something far larger? Why am I standing in a back hallway when I paid for 2A? Malik's voice barely rises above a whisper, but it echoes in the sterile corridor like a challenge. The two security officers flank him, their badges glinting under harsh fluorescent lights. He presses his palm to the cool metal railing, his heartbeat pounding in his temples. Just moments ago, he was reviewing slides for a $1.2 billion electric vehicle logistics deal. And now he's answering questions that don't make sense. Name, purpose, employer. Malik repeats himself calmly. Malik Johnson, CEO of Green Chain AI, en route to Chicago for a partnership with Cal Ocean Air. The taller officer scribbles notes, his pen scratching across the pad while the other scans Malik's face with the handheld AI scanner that spat out a false alarm. Malik feels the familiar sting of recognition bias the system trained on flawed data, misidentifying him as a threat. He wonders how many times a day this happens to someone who looks like him. The corridor is empty, but for them, the hum of distant engines and muffled cabin announcements filtering through the walls. He thinks of his mother's leather wallet, the one she gave him before he left Stockton, full of handwritten affirmations about integrity and persistence. He pulls it out and fingers it briefly, grounding himself in her faith. "You have no right to do this," he says quietly, voice steady. "I'm a partner, not a suspect." The taller officer pauses, pen hovering over the pad as if weighing guilt against procedure. Malik watches him hesitate, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. But then the supervisor appears, clipboard in hand, forced smile on her lips, delivering the same hollow apology he's heard 100 times, a miscommunication, an overzealous AI someone thought he didn't belong. She offers him a voucher for a meal and an upgraded seat on the next flight. Malik studies her face for sincerity. It's absent. He feels anger rise hot and controlled like molten steel, forging his resolve. He could rip up the voucher, demand a formal apology, threaten a lawsuit. But he reminds himself that anger is their weapon against him. It gives them cover to dismiss him as difficult. He tucks the voucher into his jacket, letting it crease a symbol of their token gesture. Without a word, he turns and walks toward the gate's open area, the weight of 30 silent passengers on his back. At the bench outside the gate, he sits and opens his laptop, the screen glowing like a beacon of possibility. His fingers hover over the keyboard. Should he call his general counsel, alert the press draft, an immediate press release that will send shockwaves through the aviation and tech worlds? The risk is monumental. He could sabotage the entire deal, tarnish his reputation, and jeopardize the future of Green Chain AI. But he knows that silence is complicity. He breathes in, recalling every late-night debugging code in a cramped apartment, every skeptical investor meeting where he had to prove himself twice over. He begins to type. The first email goes to his legal team. Subject: urgent racial profiling incident on Cal Ocean Air Flight 742. His heart pounds as he hits send. Outside, the boarding area feels colder now, as if the jet bridge lights have dimmed in solidarity with his outrage. He leans back, feeling the tension settle into a steely calm. The words he's about to unleash will decide whether he folds under pressure or ignites a movement. And in that moment of quiet before the storm, Malik knows he's already chosen his path, no turning back. Did you just pull $1 billion deal off the table? Malik's phone buzzes so violently, he almost drops it. He stares at the screen, dozens of notifications, news alerts, tweets blowing up about a CEO who got kicked off a plane. His heart thunders. This is the moment he's been building toward, but also the moment that could break him. He leans back at the airport bench, the hum of fluorescent lights above, and clicks on a regional tech blog headline, Green Chain AI CEO, racially profiled by Cal Ocean Air. He feels a surge of vindication mixed with dread. Vindication because the truth is finally out, dread because the storm is only beginning. Just hours ago, he drafted an email to his general counsel, another to his PR manager, and a third to his contact at Cal Ocean Air demanding answers. Then he'd hit send, feeling the weight of every late-night grind session, every skeptical head that he'd convinced to back his vision for cleaner, smarter logistics. Now Marcus Lee's tweet pops up. My boss just got yanked off 2A for no reason. Racial profiling is real. Green Chain AI, Cal Ocean fail. Marcus attached a photo of Malik's boarding pass, folded into a paper dove symbol of peace, turned into a protest banner. Malik's chest tightens. That dove is a bridge between hope and outrage, a reminder that his fight is bigger than one man's dignity. The notifications morph into a frenzy. Podcasts speculating local reporters, sniffing for exclusives. Tech influencers demanding Cal Ocean's board explain themselves. Rosa Martinez, the reporter who recorded his interrogation. Messages him a link to her live stream. I'm up in 2 minutes. You want to say anything? Malik takes a breath. He could stay silent, let the media spin it any way they want. but he knows silence would be complicity. He types, "Yes, I'll join." It's time they see the real face behind the story. Screen flashes, and soon his calm, steady voice fills the feed. He recounts the scanner's false threat flag, the hollow apology, the voucher he refused. He talks about the AI bias seated in the system, how an algorithm trained on flawed data painted him as a criminal instead of a collaborator. As he speaks, his mother's leather wallet sits on the bench beside him like an anchor to his roots. He holds it up. "This is what I carry, a mother's faith and her belief in justice. It's stronger than any boarding pass." Across the city, Ocean Air's PR department goes into crisis mode. Their CEO, Linda Carter, is already on camera defending the company's protocols, but every time she mentions standard procedure, Malik's words echo. When procedure becomes prejudice, we lose more than a seat, we lose our humanity. The live stream hits 500,000 views in minutes. He ends with a challenge. "If Ocean won't own their mistake, I won't just walk away. I'll walk with those who demand real change." He leans forward, eyes burning with resolve. "But this isn't just about me," he says. "It's about every engineer who looks like me, every passenger who deserves to fly without fear, and every company that claims to innovate, but won't correct its own biases." He logs off, as his flight is called another Ocean airplane 4 hours later. He could board, carry on, as if nothing happened. But as he stands, the weight of the dove in his pocket feels heavier than ever. He tucks the wallet back in determination set in his jaw. Because the next move will define whether this was. "I'm not here for your apologies. I'm here to rewrite your contract." Malik steps into the glass-walled conference suite overlooking downtown Chicago, and the room goes silent. It's the same place he was supposed to close a $1.2 billion deal just 24 hours ago, fresh bagels still half-wrapped on the side table, sterile whiteboards wiped clean. But today, he carries something more powerful than slides of resolve forged in injustice. He's flanked by Marcus Lee, his lead engineer whose jaw is set in solidarity, and his general counsel, Shelley Alvarez, her laptop open to a draft of revised terms. Across the table sit Ocean Air's top brass, Linda Carter, the head of security who flagged him the VP of operations, whose eyes flicker with guilt, and the CFO clutching his pen like a lifeline. Malik's mother's leather wallet peeks from his jacket pocket, the same one he withdrew to ground himself in that cold corridor. He places it deliberately at the edge of the table, a silent monument to his roots, and to every person locked out by bias. Linda clears her throat, her polished veneer cracking. "Malik, we've launched an internal review and drafted a public statement. Statements don't move planes." Malik interrupts, voice calm but unbreakable. "Contracts do. And right now, yours is based on a partnership that said, 'We welcome you,' while your system said, 'You don't belong.'" He clicks the remote. Behind him, the screen lights up with data graphs showing Ocean's facial recognition AI false positive rates for people of color, highlighted in red. "Your AI flagged me as a threat not because of any action I took, but because your training set was built on biased data. Every procedure you hide behind is built on an algorithm that judges me more harshly than any boarding pass could." The CFO shifts uncomfortably. Malik watches them squirm, then shifts into the heart of his proposal. "I want real policy change. I want you to commit to overhauling that system. And I want a clause tying our $1.2 billion investment to measurable equity benchmarks. Every quarter, your diversity and bias mitigation reports get audited by my team. Miss a target, I withhold the next tranche." A gust of wind rattles the glass, as if the building itself is taking notice. Linda's lipstick bright smile turns thin. "That's unprecedented." "Unprecedented," Malik leans forward. "You profiled me on a plane. My asking for accountability isn't extreme. It's overdue." The VP of operations murmurs to Linda, their eyes meeting in a shared panic. Marcus unclenches his fists, then speaks. "We're not just talking dollars. We're talking about every engineer who looks like us. Without these safeguards, you're building AI that locks us out of our own jobs." Silence cracks the room like glass. Malik picks up his wallet, hefts it in his hand, and places it back in his pocket. I came here to innovate logistics. Instead, I'm here to teach you that innovation without justice is just another barrier. He stands. I'll wait 5 minutes for your answer. He pivots, shoulders squared, and strides toward the door, leaving the echo of his footsteps, and the unspoken question hanging in the air. Will they choose profit over principle? Guess who's on the other end of the line? Malik's eyebrow arches as he presses his phone to his ear in the quiet hallway outside Cal Ocean's glass fortress. The elevator doors have snapped shut behind him, sealing off the titans inside. He's just issued an ultimatum that could shatter a $1.2 billion partnership. His pulse thrums in his ears, but his voice is steady as concrete. Tom, it's Malik Johnson. I expect your team's proposal on my desk within the hour. On the other end, the CEO of Ameris Sky. Tom Blanchard chuckles a warm sound that reverberates with opportunity. Malik, I was hoping you'd call. My board's been waiting. Malik lets the line go silent for a heartbeat, then smiles to himself. The faint click of his mother's leather wallet in his pocket reminds him why he's playing this high-stakes game, not revenge, but principle. He steps onto the moving walkway, the rare hum of airport carpets underfoot echoing his own momentum. Just yesterday, he was blocked from 2A. Today, he's at the center of a bidding war that major carriers only dream of. There's risk in every word he utters, vetoes, breach of contract lawsuits, market reverberations, but if he didn't press, he'd be complicit in the very injustice he exposed. Tom, I have conditions, Malik says, voice low. Your due diligence was preliminary 6 months ago. I didn't pursue it, not because I doubted the tech, but because I believed in what Cal Ocean said they stood for. Now, I need you to prove it. The next 30 seconds are a symphony of legal jargon, equity clauses, bias audits, and diversity benchmarks. Malik watches crowds of travelers swirl past him, unaware that beneath the veneer of normalcy, an industry might just be pivoting towards systemic change. When he hangs up, his phone buzzes with confirmations, term sheets from Ameris Sky, draft contracts tagged urgent. He leans against a pillar, considering the weight of a single decision. Greenlight the friendlier rival who stands to champion his engineers, or return to the same table that profiled him. A flash of the paper dove in his back pocket, origami crafted from a ripped boarding pass, flickers in his mind, a symbol of hope transformed into protest. He pulls it out, smooths its wings between his fingers, and tucks it into his jacket for safekeeping. It's not just a bird, it's a marker of whose side he's on. Ahead, the gate agent's window glares with flight statuses. His original Cal Ocean Air flight now reads, departed. The next Ameris Sky flight to Chicago leaves in 4 hours. Malik's gut twists, take the seat offered by the company that wronged him once more, or board the plane of a partner promising real accountability. He straightens his back, adrenaline forging steel in his veins. Whatever happens next will define not just his deal, but the future of every engineer who looks like him. With one last glance at the bustling corridor, Malik steps toward the Ameris Sky gate, ready to turn his paper dove into an eagle in flight. The runway is clear. His choice awaits, and with it the next chapter in a fight that's only just beginning. Are we really doing this? Marcus Lee's voice is tight beside Malik as they settle into their Ameris Sky seats. 2A and 2B on Flight 517 to Chicago, just hours after the ultimatum. Malik turns, clutching his phone like a lifeline, the paper eagle he folded from that boarding pass tucked inside the wallet in his pocket. The cabin lights hum, but Malik's mind races faster than the engines behind them. He looks out the window at the runway, the tarmac lights, flickering like a constellation of possibility. We're not just doing this, he replies, voice low but resolute. We're rewriting the rules. He closes his eyes, imagining every late night back in Stockton, when his mother handed him that worn leather wallet, urging him to carry your truth, no matter where you go. He'd cradled her faith like a secret superpower. Now that wallet sits heavy in his jacket, holding the single most powerful clause he's ever written: accountability. As the plane taxis, Malik pulls out his tablet, scrolling through the draft contract from Ameris Sky. It's more than numbers, clear equity benchmarks, quarterly bias, audits, diversity clauses tying their $1.2 billion investment to measurable social impact. He taps each section, heart pounding at the thought of Cal Ocean Air's missed opportunity. He remembers Linda Carter's forced apology, the thin smile that didn't reach her eyes. He shakes it off. The past flight is gone, but its injustice fuels his purpose. The engines roar crescendos. They lift off. Malik feels the G-force push him back, a rush of adrenaline that loosens his grip on fear. This flight isn't just carrying him to Chicago. It's carrying every engineer of color who's ever been red flagged by an algorithm. He glances at Marcus, whose expression flickers between excitement and nerves. Marcus's journey from coding in a shared basement to leading Green Chain's technical team mirrors Malik's built on grit and belief. Mid-flight, Malik stands in the aisle and addresses the small cabin floor. Folks, I want you to know why we're here. His calm voice breaks the hum of engines. Passengers glance up. Some record on phones. He holds up the paper eagle, its wings trembling in the overhead light. This isn't just origami, it's a symbol. We took a dove made from exclusion and transformed it into an eagle of inclusion. That's what we're investing in. Eyes soften in the rows. A mother smiles at her child. A businessman lowers his newspaper. When Malik returns to his seat, a ripple of acknowledgement follows him back. It's a subtle shift, but seismic to him. He leans in toward Marcus. That's our first win to make people see us as more than data points in a flawed system. Ahead lies Chicago, then Dallas, for the Joint Conference headquarters announcement. He knows Cal Ocean Air's PR team is watching the live stream they've already scheduled. Green Chain AI joins forces with Ameris Sky, a new era of ethical AI in aviation. The title alone will send shockwaves. Malik settles back the eagle in his pocket and whispers to himself, "We built this moment on justice, and now we'll take it further." As the flight attendant dims the cabin lights for cruising altitude, Malik stares out at the star-speckled sky, feeling the weight of expectation and the promise of real change pressing against his chest. The next step will test every clause, every promise, and every soul in that conference room. The real flight has only just begun. I never thought a paper eagle could carry so much weight. Malik Johnson's voice vibrates through the grand ballroom at the Dallas Convention Center, where 1,000 seats face a stage bathed in blue and gold light. He stands behind the lectern, the Green Chain AI and Ameris Sky logos projected giant behind him, but all eyes are on the folded origami eagle perched beside his microphone. The symbol he crafted from that shredded boarding pass now represents a movement, one he's not sure he's fully ready to lead. His daughter Zoe stands quietly at the edge of the stage in her sky blue hoodie, gripping his hand. As the crowd hushes, he knows they're not just witnessing a deal. They're witnessing a reckoning. He takes a breath, veins pulsing with adrenaline. "Thank you all for coming." He begins voice steady, but charged with emotion. "Yesterday, I was removed from a plane because an algorithm labeled me a threat." A murmur ripples through the audience. Journalists scribble furiously. Live stream cameras pivot to catch every flicker of his expression. Today, that same algorithm sits under a microscope, and that move forced us to ask, what do we really value, profit efficiency or humanity? Zoe squeezes his hand, and he lets a sliver of pride shine through. She's the reason he fights, so she and her generation can inherit a world where a kid who looks like them won't be flagged just for boarding a flight. Malik's gaze sweeps the room, airline executives in bespoke suits, investors with steely gazes, tech bloggers live tweeting every word. Some glances are skeptical, others glitter with hope. He feels the tension of 30 years of work compressed into this single moment. As of now, he continues. Ameris Sky commits $1.2 billion to Green Chain AI's equity-driven logistics initiative, contingent upon quarterly bias audits, transparent diversity metrics, and an AI ethics council that includes community representatives. Click the slide changes showing bold red bars narrowing to green, each bar labeled bias reduction diversity, inclusion, community trust. The data pulse, the numbers tell a story of accountability in motion. We're not here to punish, we're here to partner. to prove that real innovation includes real justice. Something shifts in the audience company CTOs exchange nods, legal teams scribble notes, even a handful of Ocean Air executives in the back rows sit up straighter. A journalist in the front row raises a hand. Malik nods. Mr. Johnson? What if Ocean refuses these terms? Her question hangs in the air like a challenge, but he's already anticipated it. Then we'll recalibrate our course, he replies, eyes bright, because true leadership means steering through turbulence, not flying blind. Zoe's face glows as the room erupts into applause, the origami eagle's wings catching the stage light like a living emblem of tenacity. As the standing ovation swells, Malik steps aside and lets Zoe release the eagle into the audience. It flutters past from hand to hand, a tangible reminder that change starts small and spreads fast. Cameras follow its flight, citizens capture it on phones, and somewhere social feeds explode with Chandra Paper Eagle Challenge. He watches it soar and wonders, will this gesture ignite a global movement, or will it be a momentary spectacle? Backstage, his phone buzzes an email titled Ocean Emergency Board Meeting. He exhales. The story isn't over. The next chapter is already writing itself. Leaning down to kiss Zoe's forehead, he whispers, "Ready for the next flight." She nods, eyes wide. Outside, the Dallas skyline twinkles an invitation and a dare. Malik straightens his tie, glances at the origami's empty perch, and steps forward into whatever comes next. Did you think this was the end of the story? Malik Johnson's voice breaks the cafe hush as he presses post on his company blog update. It's been a week since the Dallas conference and the Paper Eagles flight, but the ripples have only grown into waves. His message is simple yet seismic. Dignity is not optional, systems must evolve, or they'll be left behind. As the screen refreshes with shares and comments, Malik leans back, the weight of every engineer who looks like him pressing on his shoulders. He thinks of Zoe, her blue hoodie folded neatly on his office chair, and her question from that night, "Dad, will they really change?" Outside his window, the Chicago skyline shimmers at dusk, testimony to dreams that rise and fall with the sun. Malik exhales, recalling the scuffed leather wallet in his pocket, now worn like battle armor. In it rests the paper eagle, flattened, but forever potent, a symbol of turning exclusion into empowerment. He remembers the hush in the airport cabin, the artificial intelligence that flagged him as a threat, and the moment he chose principle over compliance. That choice detonated the quiet acquiescence many accept in the name of procedure. His phone buzzes an email from Ocean Air's legal counsel titled Proposal for Restorative Partnership. He smiles wryly, repentant giants come groveling when the PR fallout meets real dollars. But Malik knows better than to accept half measures. He drafts a response, "I appreciate the outreach. Let's discuss binding oversight and community-led audits before moving forward." Every word weighs a ton because he's seen what happens when apologies are cheap and accountability is cost-free. Across social media, the Shower Paper Eagle Challenge trend has morphed into real action, passengers filming themselves folding doves into eagles mid-flight, demanding better inclusion policies from every airline they board. Community leaders invite Malik to speak at town halls, grassroots groups build open-source bias detection tools, and university ethics boards cite Green Chain's clauses as case studies. He never imagined an origami bird could spark a grassroots tech revolution. But here it is, proof that disruptive innovation sometimes takes the form of a folded wing. In the hush, before his next video call with Ocean's executives, Malik closes his eyes, feeling the pulse of possibility. He knows the risks. Contracts could collapse. Investors could panic. The media could pivot to the next scandal. But the flame of this fight has caught fire in places he never expected: small airports in the Midwest, coding boot camps in Southeast Asia, diversity conferences in South America. The world is watching, and they're waiting to see if real change will be more than words on a slide. He opens his laptop cursor, hovering over the Join Meeting button, as Ocean's CEO greets him with a hesitant, "Thank you for meeting Malik." He straightens his back and prepares to negotiate more than terms. He's there to negotiate the future of technology, ethics, and organizational culture. The paper eagle peeks out of his pocket, a flattened promise that refuses to stay down. And in that moment, Malik realizes this isn't an ending, it's a launch pad. Because when you choose principle, you don't just win a deal, you change the trajectory of countless lives. He clicks join, and the screen floods awash with faces board members, engineers, community advocates. The real flight is just beginning, and the question hanging in the air is clear: will they dare to soar with him, or will they let the eagle fall?